stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of our way. Welcome, darlings.
It is the last time I have to hear that.
13 episodes and I managed to get worse.
Nobody ever came through with the help, so oh well.
I was going to say progress, not perfection, but there was no progress in my Vanderpump accent this season. But if you guys can't figure it out, you're here for the episode of all episodes. We are here for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 1 rewatch. And we are at the episode that changed the game, the finale. The limo fight, the stolen goddamn house. Oh my God, get ready, guys.
I mean, this is, I would say, like the penultimate finale. Like there hadn't been, and I don't think ever has been a better finale episode in Housewives history.
It really changed. It really set Housewives apart, or Beverly Hills apart. And I should say, going into this, I want you guys to know that I do know some of the players in this game. Just to set the tone for it, this episode almost never happened. And we'll get into it. But it almost never happened, as you guys can imagine, the limo fight and stuff. There was a chance the whole thing was going to be pulled if they had their way. But luckily, the producers and Andy got their way.
Thank God. Thank God. Oh, man.
So I guess we should start before we get to the party, because I mean we could have done 13 episodes dissecting this party minute by minute, but
yeah,
let's get the little things out of the way. The distraction, the end, the official end of Camille and Kelsey.
End of Camille and Kelsey. I mean, okay. There was basically, in my opinion, like two parts to the end of Camille and Kelsey just in this episode. Let's just get them over with so then we can get to the party, because it starts with the Tonys, which was so tense and so awkward. I mean, they redid the toast and then they're in the limo and she was like, the whole thing of like, whatever he said of like being grateful or whatever. And she was like, oh, I thought you were going to say me. And I was like, oh my God, how desperate of you. And like how awkward for everybody. Just, no matter what, like, I don't, it really was like grasping at straws and very, very, very uncomfortable. And then we go back to like her being back in Malibu, talking with her friend Dee. And most of it was, again, performative. She's not as good of an actress as LVP is. And I just, you feel bad for her, but at the same time, I just was like, whoa, but it was, I don't know exactly how it was filmed in the intercut, but only when she was talking about how basically she'd realized that there was another woman there. She was seeing somebody else. That got her. That's when you saw, like, because there was more emotion out of Dee than there really was out of Camille. Like real sadness, in my opinion. But,
I caught something in that where we've gone through stages the last few episodes where she admits one confessional, he wants the marriage over. Then the next one, maybe though, she hasn't told the women yet, but now it's just, she's broken inside, whatever. Marriage is over. And she says to Dee, he has someone up in our apartment. I'm pretty certain it's a woman.
You pointed that out to me. I hadn't realized that, like the implications of what she was saying there.
Because because later on, once they're divorced, she starts saying he was into some like alternative stuff. Yeah. And so now you get where it's coming from. I am proud. He humiliated her. And she snuck one last dig in at him before she collected her $30 million. But
Yep. I mean, it just, this is the thing. Like in later seasons, we kind of like Camille more a little bit because she breaks down this facade. I did find it interesting though, because I hadn't remembered this, but as she was talking to Dee, she was saying about how she was always under his thumb, like under Kelsey's thumb, and how like he tried to keep her away from even like Dee. Like he didn't like her hanging out with Dee and stuff. And I was like, well, if that's true, that really sucks. Like, do you know what I mean? I just, if he was that controlling, that really sucks. But that also kind of maybe doesn't surprise me, because I think I hinted at it maybe a couple episodes ago when talking about his current wife, which is the woman he cheated on Camille with and is subsequently married and had kids with. The transformation of that woman, again, you're not ugly, you're just poor. That's the whole thing. Yeah. People say. So you get money and you tend to look better. But there's kind of been a little bit of a Camillefication of her. Like she doesn't exactly look like Camille or anything like that. Like Camille is more of a glamorous type of like buxom blonde. But this woman is a lot thinner now than she was when she first met Kelsey. There's a lot like little things. And I go, there's sometimes you do see sometimes women get in these relationships with these men who are not so good for them, I'm just going to say, and they tend to shrink physically and emotionally. So it's very interesting. That's just something I've noticed. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
No, well, also someone like she said, Camille, I'm agreeing with you. I know it sounded like, no, she had said, when she was talking about him shrinking, or I'm sorry, when she was talking about herself having to stay in the shadow and, you know, he didn't want her. I think these women are there as his trophies, like trophies, a reflection of him and nothing else. And someone had told me about Camille's marriage to him. You know, I don't know what she was like before she married him, but we do know she was Camille Donatachi on Spring Break, and we've seen the clips and her
Club
bikini
MTV.
dancing.
She was Club MTV dancer.
And it makes sense that his wife has morphed a bit, because he essentially kind of My Fair Lady'd Camille. He wanted Camille to be Frasier's wife, and there was a glow up and a refinement too. And he probably put her through the pace, his new wife through the paces of being what he views as a Hollywood. I don't know what he thinks. Does he think he's British? Does he think he's a psychiatrist in Boston? I mean, he's morphed into all his characters, but he probably put her through the paces of how you need to look and behave when you are Mrs. Grammar.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
In the end, though, she got 30 mil. She didn't do too badly. She said, we talked for long-time listeners, you guys know, he didn't have a prenup. He didn't believe it. He's such a gentleman, he said. He wouldn't ask a woman. Good. I'm glad he was such a gentleman, because Camille did get half of everything. And Camille was with him through Frasier. So she got half of the peak of his career.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And I will say this. She put up with him through some very dark times of his addictions and rehab and things like that. So, you know, I will give her credit for that. You know, that's a lot to put up with for somebody. And I think that you, as a wife or as a spouse of somebody, as a spouse, being the spouse of an addict and like helping them through that, and especially somebody who's as grandiose of a celebrity, self-important feeling as he is, put up with all of that, and then to feel like you're tossed aside. Fuck yeah, get your bag, girl. Get your bag. I'm not mad at her for that.
First Wives Club, Ivana's line, don't get mad, get everything.
God, I wonder how much she's hating being like interred at a golf club. Anyway, that's for a different podcast completely. Anyway, I think we should just get to the party, because everything else is as fluffy as poor old Snowball. So
I don't know. This episode means I've been hyping it up. It means so I loved watching it. I felt like, because now I know all these people pretty, I'm close with a lot of them. I'll explain as this goes on, but I started out as a viewer and a tweeter, and this episode blew my mind. And I think about it constantly for years, and I had no idea I'd end up knowing these people. And it's like I'm there and I'm like watching them. I'm like a proud parent. I'm like, oh my God, like old family videos. It felt like an old family video because I've watched it so many times and I quote it, and now I like know. I'm like, oh, so I had forgotten this little detail. It was actually Taylor's birthday party.
Me too. Me too. Like
This
thrown by Russell, how fucking generous was he? Okay, when they were walking out of the house to go to this party, she looked dead inside.
mm,
She was dead behind the eyes. And talk about a woman who has been shrinking down. Like,
yeah.
because not necessarily in season 2, because she's still extremely thin in season 2, but then in subsequent seasons, like because she's out of that toxic relationship, she looks healthier. You know what I mean? But she is
Mhm.
just so shrunken by the end of season 1. You're just like, oh my gosh, this poor
Yeah.
woman. But she
And
looks dead inside.
oh, she did. There's even when he's trying to be nice, we know at this point, this is a weird thought, but we have to put it out there. I was thinking as this episode signs off, or is this the last time we see Russell alive?
No, you know what? No, because they're there in season 2. It was after season 2 that he.
Okay, season
Yeah.
2 opens with and then it's a flash forward, flashback, or whatever, and then
No, no, no,
season
no, no.
2 we
He's in.
watch it.
He I have to remember. Maybe because all of a sudden, like when I was looking for pictures of the white party, then I saw these pictures of Russell and Taylor for season 2's white party, and I was like, oh yeah, he was in season 2.
Mhm.
He didn't pass away until after season 2.
That's right, and they
And
almost
so it
pulled
was
season. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what it was. So I think they went through. So yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right, that makes sense. Because I was
Mhm,
wondering, I'm like, "This is awkward," but you're right. Because season 2 opens with
mhm,
he had passed,
mhm,
and then it's from the very end of the season, and then the season starts back. They go
mhm.
back in time, and then you watch it play out.
Because we have to have all those discussions. We even have to have like kind of the intervention at I forget whose house it is, maybe Lisa's, but Lisa, you know, organizes the whole
It
thing
was
of like
it was that was at Lisa's where Camille says, "But now we
now
said it."
exactly.
But
She got Camille to say that.
then the gathering when he has passed, that's across the street at Adrian's.
Okay, that's right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a different season.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah,
there yet. We're not there yet.
yeah,
But
yeah.
for some reason, I don't know why, but I just because I forgot that they were going to Mexico after this party, basically after filming is done. And for some reason, there's something inside of me that says something really bad happened to her in Mexico. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? There's just something in foreboding inside of me that just says Mexico was not good. Like
Yeah.
Mexico was bad. And I just wouldn't be surprised if,
Mhm.
if Taylor heard that and was like, yeah, Mexico was horrible. No, we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, Mexico was one of the worst vacations of my life.
Mm.
That's fine. Anyway,
Oh, but so we have the party is for Taylor's birthday. It's at I forget this hotel. It's in Beverly Hills. It's really nice, but I think it's changed names over the years. At the time, it was
yeah.
called like Raffles
Hmm.
Hermitage or something.
Hmm.
Rooftop. And what sets the scene is they're finally acknowledging Kim's drinking problem. It has
Yep.
been alluded to. They've never said it was alcohol, just issues. But here you see Kim walk in, and it's clear she's a little bouncy.
Well, even before that, I forget her name. I should have written it down, but Kim is late. Like almost everybody else is there.
Mm,
And like Kyle gets there and sees her best friend, whose name I don't remember, but the woman with the blonde hair,
Melody. Her
Melody.
name was, and I know it because I didn't know. I've never heard or seen that woman. So
Right. But they call her Kim's best friend. But Melody is there and Kyle sees her and they're like and she's like, where's Kim? And she's like, well, she's late. Like if she isn't here with you, Melody, she's not here with me. She is late. Like who the fuck knows where she is? And it is just, and well, and that's the thing though, is that when she's not with Melody, I think that's when Kyle clocks it of like, she's
Yeah.
late and I think she's been drinking.
She
I just
says
saw a moment there.
she says to the in the confessional, for the first time addressed, she says, "My sister and alcohol do not mix well."
Mhm.
And yeah, and then you see who Kim comes in with is her manager, their manager, my friend and everything, Betty. And that means if Kim didn't come with her best friend, Betty's also Kathy's manager and Nikki's. It's a whole world. Now you guys know how I know them. But I'm saying if Kim didn't arrive with her friend and she arrived late with a professional handler, that means that it took a lot to get Kim out the door.
Heck
There was
yeah.
some wrangling. I mean, there was a lot behind the scenes, which we'll get into the production of this episode. It wasn't cut. There were cameras up, cameras down. People like it went on for hours. We see 20 minutes of a party. It went on for, yeah.
It's like, I think people are more aware of now how long it takes to film the first Bachelorette episode, like the limo arrivals. Like that is an all night episode, filming for like to get like 2 hours of airtime. So yeah, this party took several hours to film to even get what we got. And what was it, like 35 minutes, I think, of the show, maybe 30 minutes of the show. So yeah.
This was what you'll start to see why they're so exasperated towards the end. This wasn't a quick cocktail party.
And you could also see like the crowd changes. There's different like crowd sizes at different points. Like there's one point where it's very large, but like later on when the fights are happening, you're like, that's a small crowd. They're like, what's the people that left?
Everyone disappeared. I mean, there is something too I caught, and this is what I said at the other episode about LVP. She was definitely acting here. With Taylor, I'm here for you. When you were talking about Mexico and stuff, and she's like, she's doing that she got better as an actress as this series went on, but here it's I see Taylor squinting and nodding in a like whatever way when LVP's like, we're here for you, we're all here for you. Taylor's basically like, stay out of my business, you're not my friend. You can see it in her face.
Like I wouldn't trust you with a 10-foot pole. Like
what LVP is trying to do here is draw it out of Taylor, trying to get her to open up, trying to get her secrets out. And yeah,
but she doesn't realize, I think, that and I mean this in the best way possible, the hustler that Taylor is, that Taylor is smarter than Lisa thinks that she is. You know what I mean? That Taylor does not give up information that easily, really good information that easily. Taylor will give up information that she doesn't need to use to hold on to. Like she'll give up that stuff easily, but the stuff that she really needs or that is really useful or that is really private or damaging, she does not give that up. And that's what and I'm going to say hustler or manipulator. And like I've said in previous episodes, I just want to be clear. Sometimes people are good manipulators because they had to be growing up. And I've said that about Taylor was in very bad positions growing up and she had to grow up a certain way. So these are defense mechanisms for Taylor. I'm not saying that she's a bad person or anything like that. So I just want to make that clear for listeners.
And also, like LVP said, which is probably a good, solid observation. She said, I think Taylor craves the Beverly Hills lifestyle more than she cares about like happiness or whatever. Talking about LVP's saying she'll basically stick with Russell if Russell has the money. All Taylor, and going to what you just said, Taylor came from nothing. She arrived in this town and nobody, and she had to scam her way to the top. And so she knows what she's doing most of the time.
I think though, I could be completely wrong, but I feel like maybe at that point though, Taylor was like wondering if it was worth it because she was physically in danger. Like to a certain point, because if you think that you can control somebody or that if you've got the situation under control, then that's okay, but maybe she's starting to realize that the situation is not under control and she can't control this man, and he's becoming more and more dangerous towards her, and that she could actually die.
Yeah.
And so then it's more of like, how do I get out of this situation? Because it's very, and I've talked about this before, when people really come at production and the other housewives about like why they didn't do more season 1 or even season 2 to help Taylor, I go, it's very, very hard. It's very, very dangerous. Some of the hardest times, some of the most dangerous times for a woman in a DV situation is when she is leaving or has just left. That's sometimes like when her abuser is at his most volatile and when she's in the most danger. So it's just very, very hard. So yeah, I just have a feeling that at that point, that maybe in the years leading up to it, she was fine. She was like, I can deal with this, whatever. But at this point, it was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe this is not okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a handle on this.
And like you were saying, it's hard that the women didn't know. Something I made note of is the way the women didn't know how to approach it or didn't know what to say. Same with Kim. With the alcoholism that we see here. So something I noticed would never have happened if Rinna was on this season. They were very protective of each other. The women were everyone knew about Kim. Kim did not become an alcoholic that season. It had been a year's struggle. Something else Kyle will open up about in this episode. It had been ongoing, and the women knew to keep an eye on Kim for Kyle, but they never said anything. When Rinna was on, she loved to just point it out. You're dying, your sister's dying, are you drinking? Like, and then with where am I getting at? They were very protective of each other. They thought this was a show about the lifestyle more than the drama. And now it's about exposing each other and calling each other out. So it's a very different vibe because you see the tension and the fear in these women's eyes at the party.
Yeah.
I mean, they're truly nervous for each other. They don't want these secrets out. Especially Adrienne. Poor Adrienne.
Adrienne definitely does not want stuff out at all. Not that I'm saying that she has like a ton to hide or anything like that, but yeah. And I do think it's interesting, you bringing up Lisa Rinna calling it out, because it's one of those things where, because I was gonna say, like, especially because we're recording this the day after the TMZ article has come out about that Kyle had to call the cops on Kim, and that Kim has been 5150'd. And there's a lot of people who will be coming after like Kyle and everything for calling the cops. And I kind of go, unless you've had an alcoholic sibling, I want to say, like, maybe keep your opinions offline. Like, say your opinions to your friends, text them to them, but it's kind of different. But then I also go, well, but Lisa Rinna had, a sibling with addiction problems, and how you deal with that is always different. And I don't know if Lisa Rinna was doing Al-Anon. I don't know if, Kyle and Kathy do Al-Anon or whatever, but like, I do see Rinna's view of it as like, you're only as sick as your secrets, and that's what they teach you in AA and also in Al-Anon. And also, this is not just a disease. Addiction isn't just a disease of the person. It's a disease of the entire family, because it does affect everybody. And so, and you see it in this fight between Kyle and Kim. It affects Kyle's entire family. It affects her marriage. I mean, it affects, her children, not just Kim's children too. And it has affected all of Kim's relationships.
Yeah.
So, and it affects her relationship, each one of their relationships with Kathy. Like, it's just so tough, and everybody's going to have a different way to approach it.
It was crazy that we were rewatching this episode, the limo fight, as the news was breaking about, which is essentially you can read it on TMZ, what happened with Kim and Kyle, and how they say Kim isn't doing well and Kyle's had to call the police and stuff. But something, and I have seen a lot, rightfully so, more sympathy towards Kyle in this situation online, because
Good.
I know Kim got a lot of, I'm sorry, Kyle got a lot of that she did this for the cameras, that she outed Kim for the cameras. But you see here, and now the audience has known the family so much, and they know the missing piece, Kathy, and they know the kids. For this to happen off cam, they know how that family manages secrets and privacy. For this to get out, it had to be serious. And
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
people understand now more where Kyle was coming from. It wasn't just a stunt for a storyline. Cameras are
Mhm.
down, and this is like
Mhm.
very definite sad news.
It's gotta be serious too. I mean, I think people, as time goes on too, people start to have more and more like good things about the internet, or people have more access to knowledge about addiction
Mm.
and, ways to go about it. So there's a lot of misinformation, but there's a lot more information. So I, anyway, I mean, it was shocking when in the limo, you know,
Oh,
Kyle let's just go to the limo. Let's
yeah,
go to the
let me give you
limo.
guys a little breakdown here, because I
Yeah.
promise you, yeah. The limo stretch took hours, about an hour, and you see it, it makes it look like Kim left, circled the block in the limo a couple of times, came back, picked up Kyle. They circled, and then that was it. No, it was like an hour and a half. And you see Kim took off to the limo. You see Betty, the manager, my friend, and everything, call down. She calls down to the valet and the driver and is like, do not leave with her. Do not take her home. Do not let her leave. So Adrian goes down there. Adrian's the peacemaker. I mean,
Mhm.
really, like, I'm watching her. She was the one who really was like, you guys are sisters. You remember your parents and this, you love each other. She really like was nervous about this because she knew.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she knew, the women knew this was real between Kim and Kyle. This wasn't a fight for
Mhm.
camera. This wasn't. So Kim goes down to cool off. Adrian goes with her and is playing therapist. And they were circling for a very long time, basically driving around the block, driving around Beverly Hills. And Kyle wanted to get in that limo. And
Mhm.
everyone begged her not to. Everyone who knew her there, who knew what was happening, they did not want this on camera because they knew it was very real and they had no idea where it could go. You saw how triggered they were.
Yeah.
And so even when you see her get in the limo and get out, you see people standing around Kyle, and you had Kyle's personal people telling her, do not go in there, do not go in, don't do this. And then you had production saying, get in, Kyle, get in. And so there was a long gap, and they were all just so triggered and heated. She needed to finish that conversation.
Yeah.
That's why,
Yeah.
that's how it came out. And then
Yeah.
that's why it's so weird for me, because I'm watching and I hyped this season up. It's like the most polished premiere season, the fanciest. But no, Bravo had never seen Housewives grandeur on this level, but this scene was so down, dirty, and raw.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're
I
in the
mean,
limo.
and also it's like it's so real because you have sisters fighting and one sister who is drunk and is accusing the other sister of stealing her house and of being a
Mhm.
terrible person, and then the other sister saying you're an alcoholic, and everybody's just like,
She
did you
said
say
it.
that out loud? Did you say that out loud? And going back to what you said a moment ago, you said everybody knew basically that Kim was an alcoholic, but I wonder, but I could be wrong. Did Taylor know that she was an alcoholic? Because there's a part of me that goes the way that like Taylor didn't come at confront Kim,
Mhm.
either seemed like she didn't give a shit, or she didn't know. She was just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're drunk or whatever, but I don't care." Like, whatever. But later on would be like, Oh,
In that
okay.
moment, it clicked for me that those 2 maybe didn't get along because in a sense, they were the 2 weakest links, and they
Yeah.
both had the biggest secrets to hide, and you
I
see them
yeah.
constantly pointing at each other like, "Oh, you think I'm a drunk? Your husband beats you. Oh,
Mhm.
my marriage? You're a drunk." You know what I mean?
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
how it start when I was watching it, I was like, "That's" because those 2 they cannot iron it out.
'Cause well, and my thing is that maybe they don't even know the other's issue, they
Mhm.
just feel it. It can sometimes just be an energy thing. Whereas
Yeah,
I do think that, like, Adrienne knew everything. Like,
yeah.
she knew that Taylor is being beaten up, and she knew that Kim was an alcoholic. Lisa, same thing. She knew everything. Camille,
Mhm.
I don't know what the fuck she knew, but whatever. And Kyle knew everything too. So
Yeah.
those three knew everything. But I have a feeling that in a lot of ways, Taylor and Kim were in their own worlds of pain
Mhm.
and could only see their own pain and couldn't see necessarily what each other was going through,
Yeah.
weren't kind of like aware of that. And I'm not blaming them. I'm not saying that's anything bad. It's
Mhm.
just where they were at the moment.
Have we talked about I mean, some of it's been out there, but I guess just one quick roundup of the accusations in the limo. "You
Yeah.
stole my goddamn house." The story of that is it was, a house in Palm Springs. Oh, you saw it.
Yeah, at the
It's the one
beginning
they
when
go
they're
to in
Easter.
Easter, and it was, their mother, Big Kathy's house. She left it to the 3 sisters. Kim and Kathy sold their share to Kyle, then Kim wanted her share back. She said, "No, that was not a theft, but there's a lot of sentimental value to that house." You see everything the mother meant to them, which
Mhm,
leads to the next thing where Kyle is finally saying, "Our mother died worrying about you." I mean, that tells you right there. The mother died, I believe, early
mhm,
2000s. Um, how long these issues had been going on with the drinking and stuff. That was
mhm,
another one. And then when Kyle says, my husband has treated you like a second wife and we're done helping you. Again, that's the financial support.
mhm. Yeah,
So those were
yeah,
the big ones. And then Kim, what did Kim hit back with? Oh, in her confessional, she supported the fam she goes into that a lot this episode. It
mhm,
was her work that as a
mhm,
child actress that, paid for everything growing up.
mhm,
Kyle's first car, their home, so I know that that stuff has all come out in bits and pieces over the years, but it
mhm,
set the tone for the rest of the series. We're
mhm,
still, like, working this past season, we had that episode where Kim meets Kyle and they're talking about Kathy and how and the
mhm,
issues with their mother and all that. It's so complicated. It's the West Coast,
mhm.
Teresa and Joe Gorga.
Yeah.
That's
It just, like, occurred to me because of, like, some other reality shows I watch on different channels, um, that, it's I get granted, Kim has a lot of Kim is an alcoholic and she has problems. And I think being a child star right there is just enough to like cause a lot of
mhm,
issues as we've seen time and time again. And like then to be like my career is what kept our family afloat. That's a lot of pressure.
mhm,
And I'm going to say something and I'm just going to say it, but I feel like that is their mother's fault because
mhm,
that pressure shouldn't be put on a child. And I'm gonna say that about any of these any child star whose parents make it like the children's job to finance that. Like, so it's not Kyle's fault that Kim's jobs bought her first car and paid
mhm.
the rent. It's not Kyle's fault. So Kim shouldn't hold that against Kyle. I'm not really saying that Kim should like hold that against her mother, but that's something that she needs to work out. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And I also kind of think like it's really tough that that their mother would put that on Kyle to like, you need to take care of your sister in this way. That's a lot to put on a child. Even though Kyle was a grown adult, Kyle is still the child to her mother. Like, do you know, am I making sense?
Mhm.
Like, you're always going to be your parent's child. And there's always a responsibility as a parent to let your child be the child in the relationship instead of the parent in the relationship. And so there
Um,
seems to be a bit of parentification there.
Earlier in the episode, when they're getting ready for the party, and Kim goes into the salon to have her makeup done, and she explains she doesn't
Mhm.
know how to do her makeup because she was always working, and as a working actress, she didn't have those normal little girl experiences,
Mhm.
sleepovers and doing makeup. So she's kind of helpless in certain ways. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking by the way it goes back and forth, Kim is like, I paid for our lives, and Kyle's like, well, I support you now. I think
Mhm.
one's like, I gave up my childhood for you, and the other one is like, I'm compromising my family for you. And it's like,
Yeah,
who's it's so complicated.
exactly. It's so sad. It really is like it's generational trauma that it just keeps
Yeah.
getting passed down, and it's so, so sad. And I think, what we're seeing now with the whole 5150 is maybe, and this is just me suppositioning because I don't know them. You know them, but I don't know them.
Mhm.
Is that maybe this is a start of maybe Kyle trying to stop that generational trauma.
Yeah.
And it's tough when it's been going on for 60 years.
Yeah. It's
I
a
mean,
lot.
it's a
It's a
lot,
series.
but it has to
I
stop at
because
some point.
I saw some comments online were like, "Oh, for a storyline." I'm like, "Well, if you're real fans, you would know cameras are down. The season is already edited." And you
Mhm,
would also just know from years of like from this episode onward, this is ongoing.
mhm, yeah.
Boy,
Like,
yeah.
and I commend Kyle because, you know, some siblings will cut and run and just go, "I can't deal with this. I have to save myself." And Kyle has tried to stand by and do right by Kim, for
Yeah.
her mother's memory and stuff like that. So I commend Kyle for that. But at some point you have to save yourself. And maybe I don't know. This is again me just fantasizing or trying to put things together. Maybe she's like, look, I've now lost my marriage. I've lost this. I've lost these things. Not putting it all on Kim, but saying maybe things would have been different in my marriage if I wasn't supporting
Mhm.
my sister. Maybe things would have been different. So maybe it's time in the latter half of my life to go, you know what? I can't do this anymore. So I have to
Yeah.
try to like figure out a way to help her, yet help myself.
'Cause one of Kim's arguments in this season, in this episode is always, "Well, Kyle, you have a husband, you have a perfect life, you have a supportive, and I only have myself." And now Kyle's going through her own issues. Her life is not season 1 perfect, and so,
Mhm.
maybe she's just like, I
Yeah.
can't juggle everyone and everything."
Yeah.
Like, tough lo
Like,
they say in the TMZ article, "Tough love." They
mhm,
need, she's had many she's been through this a lot, and I think she's always had the security, the safety net of a very, very privileged family to save her, and I think this is why you see her running around and they're saying tough love.
mhm.
Like, maybe she needs to work it out. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's very hard to let your family member hit rock bottom,
Mm,
but I mean, I think you talk to a lot of people who have been successful in their recovery, and they will say that they had to do that they had to hit rock bottom, that it was the hardest thing that they did, but it was the best thing that happened to them. So, but, it's just I don't know. Anyway.
yeah. It is the final confessional after the limo, before okay, after the episode ends, I'm sorry, the limo fight ends, it cuts to Kyle's confessional, and then it goes back up to the party where they have their farewell sign-offs, and
Mhm,
Kyle's confessional when she gets out of the limo is that she wishes that night never happened. It changed everything. It
mhm.
literally That's like always what I want. That wasn't for the show. That was never
Mhm.
meant to be for the show. And people wanted it cut, but it was like a deal with the devil. It set the show. But yeah, that was not what we watched in there. And why I think it's so riveting is we weren't meant to see it. Truly, it was one of
Mhm.
those, like if you guys listen to Orange County, our Orange County episode on Monday, where we're talking about Shannon's butt dial and how thrilling it is to like get to listen. That's what it was like. We
Mhm.
were listening to the Hilton family secrets.
Well, because also, like, you can kind of see, like, Kyle saw red and she was not
Mhm.
seeing the camera. And Kim is not seeing a camera either because she's not seeing anything else but herself. Like, Martin, poor Martin, Martin and Adrian are the only ones who are basically aware that the cameras are there and are just trying to be like, oh my God. But like, the sisters couldn't see anything
Yeah.
else but like this fight going on. So yeah,
It
it's
it
just,
was funny in there, one last thing, we should share the farewell tags.
oh
But
yes.
there's a part right before Kyle hops in and, Adrian's doing her best to reason with Kim and talk it out, and I see why you're upset, and I see how this she's like and she but Adrian's, like, trying to reason with Kim, and Kim's answering the exact opposite, like, she'll be like Adrian will be like, you're sisters, and I know how much you love each other." And Kim says something like, "Oh, you see how mean she is to me?"
Mhm.
Like, thinking Kim's not hearing Adrian, and
No,
Adrian each time is like, that's not what I said, Kim." It's like, you Adrian did not want to be the one to say, like, "You're out of your mind, you're drunk." Like, she's just like,
no.
"Yeah,
Well,
yeah."
she didn't want to say it on camera at least.
They were probably
She
getting text messages.
like, she probably didn't want to be like, "You're so drunk, like, you need to shut up right now.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
don't know
like,
what
she
you're saying."
I think Adrian's goal was to calm this and make it like, put a cap on it, girls, get out. Everyone was kind of like, except for production, was like, okay, girls, to your rooms.
Mhm.
Enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my
Oof.
gosh.
And now we're
Well,
dealing with it again. Look, the news this week. It's back to it.
but you're right. I mean, it changed everything and it changed their lives. And I mean, I think you can argue either way, whether for the better or the worse. I think in a lot of ways for the better. Like I said, like, you're only as sick as your secrets. And I think it was good to let that secret out because who knows? Kim may not still be around if that secret hadn't been let out. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because then you have more eyes on you. Like,
Yeah.
it's been talked about before that, like, once that was out of the bag, it was like people were able to see if she was drinking and stuff like that. And while it's not helpful necessarily to always live in a fishbowl. Sometimes if that's a problem, sometimes it is. It can help keep you in check. Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows?
Mm.
Can also make it worse for people. I don't know. So yeah.
I guess we should give the farewell tags because those are fun. So
Mhm.
it goes back up to the party, and I love they're taking pictures with their digital cameras.
Oh, yeah.
This was like Facebook era. This was like I was like they're taking their digital cameras pre-iPhone. It was so wholesome. It's like, oh, I
Mhm.
wonder if they're gonna tag each other on MySpace.
Mhm.
But so Kyle's was that the kids, Kim and Kyle's kids are trying to broker peace between them. Um, LVP's was that as Cedric was moving out, they had an explosive fight and they never spoke again.
Mhm. Oh, oh, we were talking about this, sorry, off camera, that we were shocked earlier in the episode when Ken said that Cedric was 37 years old.
Yeah.
We
So
thought he was younger.
I
Like,
thought I thought Ken was exaggerating, like, "Get out, you grown man, you're 37." No, I Googled him. I thought he was like a pool boy, a 20-something-year-old.
I thought it was like late 20s, maybe early 30s. Like, I did not think he was 30, almost
S
40.
You guys, Cedric is 50 now. I looked it up, I did the math. Cedric is 50.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. I wanna get a gig like that. Who needs
Aw.
a pool boy? I look just like Cedric.
Some rich people, as we have established.
Yeah. I don't know about after this episode. No, no, I'm joking. But what else? Oh, Taylor's was kind of sad. Taylor's
Yeah.
was Snowball is happy. Snowball's the dog, Kennedy's dog. Snowball's happy in her new home, but Taylor continues to struggle in hers.
Yeah. 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 That was
Adrian,
foreboding.
yeah, Adrian and Paul's, they continue to bicker. Kim's is that her family checked her into rehab and she checked that herself out a week later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
so
Camille, by the time Camille wrote this, Kelsey was engaged to his 29-year-old flight attendant.
told y'all, flight attendant. Yep. His British flight attendant.
And yeah. Oh, what a wonderful season.
What a
Really.
season. What a season. Season 1. I'm very sad that Nate was ill today and couldn't join us for the finale.
Yeah.
I know.
He's not having a Kim. I was gonna joke and be like, his family kicked him out and he's in some tough love.
We had a limo fight with him.
You stole the goddamn podcast.
Oh man.
Well, on that note, since none of my rich fancy friends have moved me into their pool house yet, the best way you could make our dreams come true, it doesn't cost you a dime. All you have to do is rate, subscribe, review, and follow. Make sure to subscribe. These just drop in your phone. You can listen to them anytime. We are on Instagram and TikTok at Pretty Corrupt Podcast, at Twitter at Pretty Corrupt One, and also on YouTube.
Make sure that you are subscribed and hit that notifications bell, because guess what we're dropping tomorrow? If you're listening to this on Thursday, we're dropping a PCP Bravo Bitch Fest astrology episode about Bethany Frankel. Hello. So I know. Oh my gosh. This one is fun. So make sure you're watching those. We're trying to also get to our 500 subscribers by Halloween. We are so close. So close. And it's just it's just a little milestone we're trying to get to. So help us get there by hitting that subscribe button.
Cheers, darlings.